Alrighty, this video is going to be a part 2 video just because I was interrupted. So we're going to pick up on number 10. Apologize for that. So again, we need to find our slope and then put it in point slope form. So to find our slope, we subtract our y value, sorry. So -2 minus 3 and 6 minus 1. So we have -5 divided by 6 minus 1 is 5. So that reduces to -1. So the slope we're using is -1. We're going to use this first point. So we have y minus our y value equals our slope, -1, x minus our x value. And we can just leave it right in point slope form. They don't want anything else from there. Alrighty, let's go to the back side of the review. So for the back side, we're going to start using those transformations. So I want you to be thinking about this equation, y equals a times x minus h, and then plus our k. Now this one, it's saying the parent function is x squared, so be thinking of the 2 right here for that x squared one. It's going to be whatever that parent function is. Now, for number 11, it's telling us it's going down 4. So right in that k spot is in charge of moving it up and down. It's going down 4, so we're going to put a -4 right there. And then it's going to the left one, so this h is in charge of left and right. It's the opposite of what you would think, so since it's going to the left one, we're going to add 1 there. So then there's nothing in that a slot. It doesn't talk about being stretched or compressed or reflected, so we just leave that at blank. And then we have x plus 1. We put our exponent of 2 just because that's what our parent function had. And then we go -4. So this is telling us we're going to the left 1. And this is telling us we're going down 4. So this would be our final answer. Alrighty, number 12. We're going to take a look at the same type of problem. So it's going up 7. So right in that k spot, we're going to add 7. Because that's in charge of up or down, and then it's going to the right 3, so this h is in charge of moving it left or right. It's going to the left, or to the right 3, sorry, so we have to subtract 3. So our equation should be y equals x minus 3 plus 7. And that, again, tells us we're going to the right 3, and this tells us it's going up 7. Alrighty, now the next one, we're going to grab some graph paper again. We're still using those transformations. And the first one, number 13, says that it's the absolute value of x minus 2. There's absolute value bars, so we know we're going to get a V shape because of those bars. And then it says -2 inside, so it's going to go to the right 2 units. Okay, so that would be our transformation. We'd say to the right 2. And then to graph that, we're going to start at 0, 0. We're going to go to the right 2. There's no number in that a slot, so it would just be a 1. So we go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. That gives us our one side, and then up 1, back 1, up 1, back 1 gives us that other side. So then that would be our graph for number 13. Let's try number 14. So there's a negative in that a slot, so we would say it's reflected across the x-axis. There's no number there, so we can just think of it as a 1, so our slope is going to be -1. It's not moving left or right at all, so we start right at 0, 0, but then our slope is down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1 to get the one side, and down 1, back 1 to get the other side. So that would be our graph for number 14. Alrighty, for number 15, it has absolute value bars. And so we know it's going to be a V shape, but then there's also an inequality. So we need to do dotted or solid line and then also shading. So this +1 at the end tells us it's going to go up 1. So let's start with that. Let me get some graph paper out. So we're going to go up 1. Our slope, there's no number in the A slot, so we're just going to put 1. And then we have to look to see whether it's dotted or a solid line. There's no bar underneath of this inequality, it's just less than. So we know it's going to be a dotted line. If it was less than or equal to, we would have a solid line. And then everything less than is a solution, so we're going to shade everything less than. So everything below it. If it's greater than sign, we're going to shade everything above that line. Let's try number 16. So for number 16, we first need to get this y by itself. So we're going to add that 3 over. Make sure when you add that 3 over, you're adding it on the outside of the absolute value bars. So then we have our equation. This plus 5 means it's going to the left 5. This plus 3 means it's going up 3, because that's our h and our k. So we need to go to the left 5. We need to go up 3. And that's going to give us our vertex. Our slope is just 1, so we go up 1, over 1, up 1, back 1. Okay, this one does have a bar underneath the inequality. It's greater than or equal to, so we're going to need a solid line. And then since it's greater than, we're going to shade everything above it this time. Okay. Make sure for those inequalities, we remember our dotted, our solid line, and our shading. And then because the absolute value bars, then we know that it's going to be a V shape for both of those. Alrighty, for number 17, it says if y varies directly with x and y equals 18 when x equals 6, what is the constant of variation? Find the value of y when x equals 10. So there's two ways we learned how to do this in the lesson. We can either set up a proportion, so it's y divided by our x, so 18 divided by 6 equals, and then y we don't know, and x equals 10. And then we do our cross products. So we have 6y equals 180, so 6 times y is 6y. 18 times 10 is 180. Divide by our 6, and we get y equals 30. So that's one way that you can do it. If you don't like this method, the other method that I showed is using that y equals kx. So we could plug in our 18 here. Our x is 6. Solve for our k. And we get k equals 3. Plug that back into the original equation. And then it says now find the value of y when x equals 10. So we can plug in 10 and we get y equals 30. We get to the same outcome, so whichever method you find more comfortable, please use it. For number 18, it says graph a line with a slope of undefined. Okay, a slope of undefined is just going to be any vertical lines. So any vertical line that you make, it's going to have a slope of undefined. If they wanted a slope of 0, then make sure you remember that is a horizontal line. If they wanted a positive slope, just make sure you have an increasing line, and a negative slope would be a decreasing line. Okay, so that's the different ones that I might mix it up for the test. Alrighty, the last one, it says suppose you manufacture and sell tarps. The table at the right displays your current sizes and prices. So for this one, we're going to want a graphing calculator. So let me grab mine. And this was the scatter plot, the one that we did on the graphing calculators. So you'll want to have a graphing calculator also. If you remember, we want to go to stats. We want to click enter. If there's data already in there, click clear, enter, and then clear, enter. Okay, we're going to type in all of our x values. We're going to type in all of our y values. Alrighty, and once you have it typed in, make sure all your numbers are correct. Then go to stats, go over to the middle column, calculate, and down to 4, which is linear regression. Click enter. And some of your calculators, you might have to click enter a couple times, but then this tells us what our A is and this tells us our B. So our A is our slope, our B is our y-intercept. And you can round to the hundredth spot. So then we would write for our equation y equals 0.04x plus 0.02. Now notice how that has a positive slope. So since it has a positive slope, it's going to be a positive correlation, sorry. If it would have a negative slope, then it would have a negative correlation. So for part C, is this an accurate model? We're going to say yes. Okay, it's very accurate actually. We used our graphing calculator, so they're going to be able to find a very precise trend line, to where if we're doing this by hand, it's not going to be as accurate. And then using your model, predict the price of a 250 square foot tarp. So our 250 is going to be our X value because that's the size of our tarp. So we're going to use this equation. We're going to plug in 250 in for X, and then we have to solve for our Y. So we're just going to type that right into our equation. So we'll have 0.04 times 250 plus our 0.02. And it's going to be $10.02 for that tarp. Okay, now this equation is just our average, so it might not be exactly that price, but that's if it continues to increase at this rate, what an average, what an estimate would be. Hopefully this helped going through the review. Please watch it as many times as you need to. Let me know if you have further questions. Thank you.